Good morning, everyone. We still have 1 minute to 10, so I'm just going to start right now and let people know that we're ready to get on with our webinar, but we're going to wait for a little bit. But in the meantime, welcome. I'm glad you're joining us today. Hi, Gordon. Thank you for joining us too.
Hi, good morning.
So oh, sorry. I just wanted to tell our attendees that it's not that you don't want to show your face, it's that your camera, for whatever reason, isn't working today.
Yeah, I'm gonna blame the computer for that one. But yes, it's not that I don't want to show my face, although it might frighten some of the attendees. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't get the webcam up and running. I think I've put it under too much stress recently with all these video conference calls, etc., and it's finally given up.
That may be also the reason we've had a lot of conference calls in the last couple of months, thanks to Lady Corona.
Yeah, well, I think probably everyone online today can appreciate that as well. So they're probably in a similar situation.
I don't know how many times I can say, "Can you hear me?" or "Can you see me?"
Yeah, my friend pointed out as well that we were talking about this, and she pointed out that she never waves when she leaves a normal meeting, but for some reason, when leaving a virtual meeting, everybody feels the need to wave at the camera and to say goodbye. She says, I never really focused in on it before, but I don't understand why this coronavirus has turned me into someone who waves bye to everybody when they log off a meeting. So it's a bit strange.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, things are going to change or are changing right now. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's safe to say we can start now.
Yep.
Well, and if some of the attendees get a little bit late, that's no problem, because we are going to share the slides and the recording of this webinar afterwards. So don't worry if you have to leave before we're done, or if you get here late. I mean, if you get here late, you're not listening to this right now, but yeah, we'll be sharing the slides and the presentation. So, oh, okay, a couple of people join. I think we're good to go. Good morning again, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Tatiana, I'm Communication Manager at Epoq and your moderator for today. During the webinar, I'm going to be keeping track of your questions or comments, and then we'll post them to Gordon at the end of his presentation in our Q&A session. And if you can hear me and Gordon, I would like for you to give me a little heads up. You can use the question box on the dashboard of the GoToWebinar panel. So a little heads up that you can hear me. Okay, it seems like it's working. Good to know. Thank you very much. So again, we'll be sharing the slides and the recording, and our speaker for today is Gordon Thomson. He will tell us about e-commerce in B2B, and we'll discuss some of the most important trends in this branch. And of course, we will talk about personalization. Hi, Gordon. Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks, Tatiana, for the introduction, and hello to everyone who's online this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy through the coronavirus period, which has been a very strange period for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk today a little bit about how you can score with online shop personalization, specifically in the B2B area. And we've got something for everybody in today's presentation, and there may be certain aspects of the presentation where you feel like you're fairly familiar with what we're talking about, or maybe your online shop already has something like this implemented in it. And of course, there's going to be other people online today who have no idea what we're talking about. It's the first time you've ever heard it, so it's new. But what I can promise you is that in the second half of this presentation, I'm going to be talking about a strategy which is extremely innovative, very new, and has massive repercussions in the way people shop in B2C and B2B. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be really interesting for the vast majority of you, if not all of you. But let's dive straight in. So first of all, I want to consider what we need to know about the B2B customer specifically. And one of the first things that we need to be aware of when we're talking about B2B customers, and I'm talking here about the people who actually use the website on a daily basis, is that they are also B2C customers. And this is becoming more and more relevant, because from 2020 onwards, the majority of the population that are active in the workplace will be digital natives. And what that means is that these people have grown up with technology and are extremely familiar with using the internet, with using social media, online shopping, streaming services, etc. And they begin to increasingly expect the type of user experience that they get in their B2C lives, so their personal lives, in the B2B sphere as well, so in their professional lives. But that's not to say that they have the same shopping behaviors. The shopping behaviors actually differ greatly between how a customer shops in their professional life in B2B stores and how they shop in B2C stores. So it's important to take that into account when we look at personalization for business to business. Now, in terms of the expectation of the user experience that they have, a lot of the key factors in this are already being covered off by many companies. Quick loading times, for example, we know that a slow loading time is a massive contributor to a high bounce rate. So many companies have worked on these things. It's the same as simple user guidance and transparent ordering processes, payment processes, that type of thing, have all been very much simplified over the years. We know that customers now like a lot of information because there's so much choice online that it's easier for them to make a decision when they're well informed. And of course, contemporary design, you want to put your stamp on your brand and make it attractive and new. And developers everywhere have been working really hard on these factors and have done a great job. But what we're talking about today is personalized communication, and this is a newer topic. This is something that doesn't have the same history of development that these other factors have. And it was certainly one of the biggest priorities for many e-commerce providers in 2019, and it continues to be a really important factor in how we go forward and how we evolve the user experience. People are starting to expect it more and more. But when we talk about personalized communication, we don't talk about a one-size-fits-all, one solution solves every problem type of thing. What we're talking about is personalization across the entire customer journey, and a lot of work has gone into exploring what the customer journey looks like. And you can break it down into several phases. So we have product research, where someone is just looking to find a selection of products that they can choose from. They're looking for the right thing for them. That's their orientation phase. You then move on to product selection, which is where they may look for advice to narrow it down to the right product for them. Then they have the buying intent, and that's where inspiration becomes really important to get them over that final hurdle to say, yep, I want to buy this, or I want to add some products to this to make it a better experience when I do buy it. Customer loyalty is really important if you want to keep your customers coming back to the store, and that breeds customer confidence. And that's when people are not just coming back because they bought a nice product or because they had a relatively good experience, but because they trust the seller, they trust the business to give them good, valuable information and great products. So why is B2B personalization becoming important? Well, B2B customers have the similar customer journey. However, there are some key differences, and there are some key factors that can be addressed by personalization, which will make the experience of B2B shopping much better. So if we look at simplification and acceleration of the purchasing process, well, personalization is designed to make things easier for the customer to get the right product. And that's really important in B2B because they're often under pressure of time. Focusing down on relevant contents. Again, we come back to the fact that they're under time pressure, they need to get things done quickly, so the contents of your page have to be relevant to the user. It gives them a much better experience and a more comfortable shopping experience. Support with product selection. Again, in B2B, you have a vast range of products, often with different variants. So supporting the customer in choosing the right product, that stops problems occurring down the line. If they've bought the wrong product, there are a whole chain of problems that they can have. Consideration of relevant assortment and prices. Now, I would argue that this is actually more important in B2B than it is in B2C, because customers in a B2B shop have individual product assortments and pricing. And so personalization needs to be used to reflect that in the online store that they see when they log in. Appropriate and reliable information. Again, we come back to how do you develop trust? Well, you need to be giving them information that is personalized and appropriate to them, and that is reliable, that is fully actionable by the company. And if we address all of these factors, we improve the overall efficiency in the purchasing process, which is the aim of the game for B2B. You have to make it as efficient and as simple and as good an experience as possible. And that's why personalization is really important. Now, we talked about the shopping behaviors being different between a B2C customer and a B2B customer, so let's explore that a little bit. So there's some key differences in how long a customer is willing to spend online. Now, B2C customer shops at their leisure. They go on often for recreation or just to look for a specific product that they can afford to spend the time researching and making sure they get the right thing. But a B2B customer is often under severe time pressure. And that could be time pressure to get an order done before the cutoff for next day delivery, or it could just be the fact that they have a huge to-do list of things that they need to get done in that day, and ordering is just one element of that. So they're often under the pressure of time. The B2C customers normally make a single purchase. They normally go online because they need something, whether it's a new television, a pair of jeans, whatever it might be. They seek out a retailer that sells what they want, and they make a single purchase. But a B2B customer makes repeat purchases, and I'm not just talking about frequency of purchases, but also the number of items that go into the basket as well. So where a B2C customer may have one, maybe two items in their basket, B2B customers tend to have many, many more items in their basket, and they tend to do this and repeat this process on a weekly or monthly basis. So they're online making purchases a lot more. Now, a B2C customer will see the same assortment of products and prices. So if you're buying from a website like Adidas, for example, in London, you're seeing the same prices and the same assortment as somebody buying in Glasgow. It's the same across the board. But as we mentioned earlier, companies who are buying through a B2B website are often have negotiated product assortments and individual prices. So it's not the same as company B, who's buying at a different rate of exchange or a different price mechanism, and with different products and brands available to them. And a B2C customer, they don't really go online expecting or aspiring to form a long-term relationship with a retailer. It's a bonus if it happens due to a good experience, a personalized experience, or because they just get great service. Whereas a B2B customer really is looking for a constant supplier, a consistent experience with a good supplier that can fulfill as many of their needs as possible. Because if you add more suppliers, or if suppliers are changing after every 6 months, it adds complexity and opens up the possibility for errors to be made. So it's really important that they form a lasting relationship. Now, these are the 4 behaviors that we're going to focus down on today, but there are more behaviors that differ, and it's important to take them into account. However, we're not going to focus on them much today. So B2C customers have their sole scope of decision. They don't have to adhere to any release processes. They know exactly how much money they want to spend, what they need the product to do, and they make the decision to buy. Whereas that's much more complex in B2B, more people are involved in decision-making processes, there are certain release procedures, but these are internal. So we can't really affect them directly with personalization strategies. We can have a knock-on effect if the personalization is effective at streamlining the process. It may have a knock-on effect on these processes, and that's important to note, but it really is the company's decision internally as to what they want to do with those processes. So we're not going to spend too much time looking at those today. So let's examine the first shopping behavior, which is time pressure. So as we discussed, B2B customers are usually under pressure of time. So what can we do about that? How can we make their lives easier when they're shopping on your website? And the answer is to simplify and accelerate the purchasing process. So we need to make it as easy as possible. We need to make it as quick as possible. And we start at the beginning with this. So we start with the search bar. Now, most people, studies have shown that most people will gravitate towards the search bar when they come online. And that's true in business to business as well. And you may already be thinking, well, okay, but we've already optimized our search. We've already put in error correction, error tolerance. We've already started making that a better experience for the customer. And that's okay. But I just want to use this as an example of how you can personalize in the search bar, so right from the word go, basically. So you can see here that this is an example of a type ahead box, which is the box that pops up when people start typing in the search bar and maybe haven't finished their queries, but it anticipates what they're looking for. So it anticipates a set of products, and that's good as a beginning because it shows the customer that they are on the right track for what they're looking for. And in this case, these results are personalized so that when they're looking for these different colors paper, the most relevant searches come up to the top. So the results that you're shown here are the ones that they buy most often. So they have the ability to just very quickly add them to basket if all they're looking to do is make repeat purchases. They don't even have to click enter at this point. Now you can, sorry, Tatiana.
Question here. If you could go back one slide, please.
Yep, sure.
What if the customer goes through the navigation bar instead of the search box?
Okay, so do you mean if they click on a category or something like that from the navigation rather than actually typing the term into the search box?
Yeah, like usually on the left side.
Yeah, that's no problem. That can be done as well. Obviously, the customer has to undertake sort of some maintenance to make sure that their categories are up to date. But if you have a good personalization engine in place, it should be able to personalize the results in the navigation bar as well. So when they click on colored paper, for example, you'll get the same experience where your most relevant products, i.e. the ones you buy or look at most often, gravitate towards the top of those results. So you're not just getting a generic assortment that you then need to flick through. So yes, you can, the short answer to that is yes, you can do that. You can personalize your categories as well, as long as the attributes that are within those categories are current and up to date and maintained well by the customer, etc.
Yeah, that was the question. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So what we can also do is we can do this with content as well. So we have to bear in mind that a B2B site is not just an online shop for a customer, it's a source of information or it's a source of professional expertise. So oftentimes a customer may come online looking for content as well. And so you can do the same with content. You can personalize the content, you can give them their most used categories of content in this type ahead box as well. But you don't have to separate them out completely. You can also, as the example shows here, have product and content so you can let the customer decide what type of search they're doing. So you don't have to narrow it down to one or the other. You can also have your content separated out from your actual online shop so that when somebody enters a search term, they can then choose to see content or product. And again, that's streamlining that ordering system by not overcomplicating a list of products with advertisements or content within it. And you can see here that this is all content that's being shown under a specific tab. And if the customer's clicked on this tab, they could be looking for material to put together a webinar, they could be looking for information for a sales pitch, or just looking to find out what's new in certain categories. But they can click on the tab for the online shop, and all they will see is product. so they can choose their own experience, and it streamlines what they're looking to do online. So we move now to the actual search results page. And again, we come back to this example of the paper because you can see from this example that it is again in the same order as you saw it appearing in the type ahead box. And the reason for that is because yellow, red, green, these are the colors that this customer most often purchases in this type of paper. So again, we're making it really, really easy to jump straight into the purchasing process and add the relevant items to your basket. But this is not static. Bearing in mind that it's constantly learning and it will evolve as the customer's needs evolve as well. Now, this actually links back to what you were talking about, Tatiana, with categories. So filters are extremely important, not just in search results, but in category searches as well. Because if a customer either clicks on a category or does a very broad search, like here the searches are just for blocks of paper or for ink, you can see that in the ink search, they've got over 2,500 articles. So that's a huge assortment of products. And how do you search through that manually? Well, the answer is you don't. You need filters. You need to be able to drill down to the products that you're looking for using some options that you're given there. But these filters need to be dynamic. So you can see that the filters in the example on the left differ from the ones in the example on the right because they are specific to the products that are being searched for. But not only that, you can keep them specific, but you can also change the order they appear based on how often they're used by the actual customer. So you want the most often used filters for these types of search terms to gravitate to the top of the list to make it easier for the customer to get where they want to go using the most relevant filters for them. And that is very, very important because when you have a B2B website, your products are often extremely complicated or come in various variations. And so faceted navigation that is dynamic, that changes with the product, and that is prioritized not just on general factors, so not just on what's used across the board, so that could maybe be price or brand, but on certain filters that are according to the individual use of the customer, which could be more narrow filters like size or dimension or shape. So that's really, really important to keep that dynamic, keep it personalized, and give the customer a faster progress through filtering down to the right product set. And the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of simplification and acceleration of the purchasing process is very, very specific to B2B, and that's a direct ordering widget on your homepage. So we know that B2B customers tend to be much more familiar with things like SKU numbers, article numbers, product numbers, call them what you like, but they're often extremely complicated. They're often maybe 9 or 10 digits long, they have letters and numbers, and it opens up the possibility for error. So there's two things you can do about that. One, you can use a program that simplifies these order numbers, so you can narrow them down to a sort of 4 or 5 digit number. And then you can have this direct ordering widget on the homepage where customers can type in that simplified product number. It'll preview the product so that they can make sure that it's the right one that they're looking for, and they can add it directly into the basket. So they can create a full basket, a shopping list as it were, of regularly ordered products that they use the article numbers rather than doing searches or clicking on categories or filtering, etc. They can just quickly and easily add all these items to their basket. So we've talked about time pressure. We've talked about how you can simplify getting to the product, to orientating the customer on the website, making sure that they have access to the regularly purchased products using personalization of the search terms, personalization of filters, and of course, direct ordering. But what do we do to make the fact that they are making repeat purchases more streamlined and more comfortable an experience for the customer? We need to focus on relevant contents. And when I say focus on relevant contents, I mean every item on the page that the customer accesses should be streamlined towards them. And you can see here an example of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having categories there that they can easily click into because they use them most often. And then showing them products that they've previously purchased and recommendations based on those previous purchases, either for other products or complementary products. What I am not talking about here is a static list. There's no benefit as a B2B supplier to showing the customer just a predictive list of what they've previously bought. Because what you do is you narrow down the possibility of things like cross-selling and upselling, because you're not giving them alternative options or newer options or complementary options. You're just giving them what they've already bought. So it needs to be dynamic. It needs to change to open up that possibility that they might see something else and want to buy it. Or if one of their regularly purchased products is out of stock, they can find a replacement product for that by being recommended it by the website, etc. So it gives a better experience and a more profitable one for B2B suppliers. If we look at what I'm talking about here, this is the product tile here that shows a bathtub. So say, for example, the customer is a plumbing firm or a home decoration firm who is going to supply that bathtub to one of their engineers who's going to go out and fit it for a customer. Now, buying the bathtub alone is not enough. We know that there are certain elements that need to be used to fit that bathtub. And you can see on the right-hand side here that they are recommended in the product tile. So everything that's recommended here is complementary to the actual product itself. It will fit. It will be able to be used in fitting that bathtub, and you then avoid the possibility of error. If they had to search for every single one of these items individually, there's a chance they could buy the wrong thing, and that impacts down the line, because then the customer, the end user, doesn't get their bathtub on time. They have to send products back to the supplier and then reorder. So it complicates things if you do that. So it's much easier and much quicker for the customer to put together a full kit that they can give to their engineer to go out and install this bathtub. So that's all from the one page, just by recommending those complementary products and making sure that the customer has all the options open to them. If we look at if you're a customer who's looking to stock a new range in their store, and you come online and you see a plate that you like, then the recommendations from the supplier can be other products in the range. Now that opens you up to cross-selling or upselling them a new full range rather than just a new set of plates. And that opens up possibilities for the actual customer as well, because they now stock the full range of products, which means they can then upsell their customers by saying, oh, did you know that there are other items in this range if you're interested in these plates? So it opens up great possibilities all the way down right to the end user. Now, another way to focus in on relevant content is to use guided selling. And this is guiding customers to the right articles, and it's using intuitive processes that focus on what the product needs to do. So if they have a problem that they've never had to solve before, they can use these types of things to find the right product based on the attributes that the product needs to have. So in this example, it's they're looking for a stamp, so they're looking for what the stamp looks like, the text, etc., the size or the shape of the stamp, the color, and the style of the stamp, etc. So each one of these questions moves on to a next set of another set of attributes. Eventually, this will lead to a set of results that they can see, but you can personalize those results as well. So you can order it by the knowledge that you have of the customer. You can have the favorite brand of the customer moving up to the top of the search results, or you can have the favorite style or price point of the customer dictating how those results are ordered. So they're getting right to the relevant contents, and they're able to buy with confidence, knowing that the product's going to do what they need it to do and that it fits their personal requirements. So that's how you can help customers to make repeat purchases with ease. So if they're accessing your shop over and over again, you can give them a better customer experience. But how do we deal with the fact that they're purchasing it in sort of individual price points and individual product assortments? Well, we need to make sure that the website reduces what they see to the relevant assortments of products and the consideration of prices in real time. Now, this is really, really important because especially with bigger companies, it can be very, very difficult for, say, a head office to roll out to every single touch point what they're allowed to purchase or what the prices are, because it can change. It can change monthly, it could change every quarter or 6 months, depending on what kind of agreement they have with the B2B supplier. So what we need to be able to do is to hide certain brands or to hide certain items that they are not able to purchase, and to make sure that everything is updated in real time, but still ordered in search results or in categories according to their own personal tastes. So you can see here, customer A and customer B, they have different product assortments. However, they're ordered according to their personal preferences. So customer A, if you look further down the list, has similar products to customer B. However, the other products, these ones that are at the top that are highlighted, are ones that they purchase more often, whereas customer B purchases these ones more often. You can see there that there are search results that are appearing in customer B that are not appearing in customer A, and that's because they may have different product assortments. This stops a head office having to constantly roll out updates if they can be confident that the website does that for them. It stops showing customers, or it stops showing specific customers assortments that they're not entitled to buy or that they haven't negotiated. And the same goes with price as well. So you can see here the same search results for customer A and customer B, and yet different prices. And these need to be updated in real time to reflect the fact that the customer either has new pricing or has negotiated better pricing. We can do that with personalization. We can change the prices on the same products in the same store for different customers. And that is really, really important, because again, that stops these long Excel lists of stuff having to be rolled out by head office when the website does it for them. And so constant supplier relationship, that is a big one, especially in B2B, because they are looking for that trust and that loyalty so that they can retain a supplier for longer and make their own lives easier. So how do we generate that? Well, appropriate and, more importantly, reliable information is key to this. Now, when I'm talking about appropriate and reliable information, it spans the gamut. It's not just things like content or product information, but things that B2B really care about, like delivery times, availability, because they need to know if something is immediately available or if they're going to have to wait for it, because oftentimes they're going to have to inform their customers of the same thing. And then, of course, latest prices. If there are offers running, if there are incentives at the B2B supplier to buy certain items at a slightly reduced cost, they want to be aware of that, because often they're buying in bulk and that saving will add up. Now, that's fine if they're coming online, every sort of week or so, but if you've got customers that are buying every month, how do you make sure they stay current? And the answer is email, because we communicate with our customers via email, and B2B suppliers are no different. But you shouldn't be sending out generic emails. The emails need to be specific to the customer. The information has to be appropriate to them. So we can see in this email, these products that are selected based on what the actual customer buys regularly. So again, you're personalizing what you're showing them there. Now, if you're showing them those products because they're actually reduced in price at the moment or they're back in stock, then that's great when you send the email. But if the email is only updated when it's sent and the customer doesn't open it for 5 days, this information could be obsolete and therefore not reliable. So what needs to happen is that the information in the email needs to download from the website the moment that it is opened, so that the customer, when they view this information, they know that if they click on one of these product titles, it will not only be available in store, but if a price is showing there, then it is available at that price. So they don't get any nasty surprises. They can rely on the information that they're getting on a regular basis from their supplier. So we've addressed these shopping behaviors and how we can use personalization in B2B e-commerce to provide them with a much improved customer experience. And we can do that along the customer journey. So at the orientation phase, you can use like an optimized search program to enhance the experience and personalize the results. At the advice phase, when they're looking to select the product, you can use things like guided selling to narrow down their list of results to things that they really need. You can use recommendations to inspire them to look at potentially new products or complementary products. And then to build that customer confidence, you can use targeted, up-to-the-minute, accurate emails to get them the right information and the best information when they need it. But what about customer loyalty? What about generating customer loyalty? You need to do something different here, and there is new technology available now which really changes the game on this. And what it does is it brings all of those elements that we've talked about under one banner. And that banner is personalized shopping areas. Now, this is a brand new personalization trend. Now, I'm giving you an example of a B2C customer here, Outlet City Metzingen. That's one of Epoq's customers who are implementing this type of technology. But I am going to talk to you a little bit about how it can affect B2B. But if we look at some of these actual examples, you can see here that you've got two shopping areas, one for Sarah and one for Gloria. And it's important to note that when they log on to Outlet City Metzingen, this is what they see. So they don't see a standard homepage anymore. They see something that reflects their own personal interests. And because it's a fashion retailer, it reflects their styles. So you can see the pages are very different. So it reflects their styles based on their click and buy behavior, but it also reflects their shopping behaviors as well. So you can see things, for example, like Gloria likes to shop by brand. And so that brand world advertisement is higher up. And you can see that the brands are different from Sarah's shopping page because they prefer different brand names or designers. Gloria also has content recommended here, and you can do that with user-generated content or social media content as well as your own to get it to people that it's going to inspire the most. And if we drill down a little bit and look into these shopping areas, right at the top in Sarah's shopping area, she's been recommended products. Now, you can see the products are all very similar, and that is because we know from her shopping behavior that these are the types of things she's highly interested in at the moment and most likely to buy. You can also reflect the customer's, well, because we're talking about fashion again here, the customer's size. So if you know the customer's size because they've purchased previously, then you can only show items that are available in their size. And also, if we know that Sarah, for example, likes to shop in the sale and is much more likely to buy a reduced product, then that can be reflected in these results as well. You'll see many more sale products appearing here because it's all stuff that she's much more likely to be interested in adding to basket. Now, when it comes to browsing or to looking for new favorite products, a lot of customers will use categories, and we can see here that Sarah has her favorite categories here. Now, normally, if you click on a favorite category, you'll be taken out into a generic page where you then need to start using filters, etc. But with a personalized shopping area, they don't even have to leave this page. So if Sarah selects blouses, you can see that her favorite categories drop down here. So she selects her favorite designer and then adds a couple of attributes as to how she wants the products to look. And then with only a few clicks, she has a highly relevant personalized selection of products to browse through that meet her requirements. So you can see the crossover here into business to business because customers buy in different ways, even through the same websites. So we've got an example here of a heating engineer and a sanitary installer who are both buying through a website that supplies heating engineering products, sanitation products, and air conditioning products as well. But we know that with the different job roles, they're going to be buying not only different products, but in different ways. And also, we know that they'll have access to different selections of products on that page. So you can see there that their personalized shopping areas reflect their choices. So the heating engineer is recommended products that are highly relevant to him, whereas the sanitary installer has completely different products recommended there. You can see that by the brands right up at the top, that the heating engineer tends to purchase via clicking on his favorite brands and navigating that way. Whereas the sanitary installer prefers to look at categories. They prefer to look at certain things that are going to open up various brand options. So you can personalize the shopping areas to the type of purchasing that your customer does. It focuses on that relevant content. It considers all the different assortments and prices to make sure that everything is accurate and that they're only seeing things that they're allowed to buy at the prices that they're allowed to buy it. And it provides appropriate and extremely reliable information because everything that we see here will be available for purchase for the customer immediately. You can see how this personalized shopping area really does change the game when it comes to B2B e-commerce because it creates a fully personalized experience all under this one umbrella of this personalized shopping area. So we've taken all those elements that we talked about earlier and managed to put it in one place to really vastly change the experience that the customer has. So in conclusion, this level of personalization enables B2B e-commerce to respond specifically to the purchasing behavior of each individual customer. And that significantly increases the efficiency of the purchasing process. That is important because it leads to enhanced customer experience. That experience that they expect from B2C can be translated into B2B. You can line up the experiences that they have even when their behaviors are different based on whether they're shopping for their personal life or their professional life. And in the end, this is what's going to increase turnover through the B2B store, because you're going to have customers that are better informed, that are getting more options available to them, that are getting alternatives available to them, getting really reliable information, and in the end, increased customer loyalty and customer satisfaction. So you're much more likely to have contracts extended when the experience is so good that they don't want to leave. Now, how do we do this? Well, what we need to build up first is a knowledge base. We need to know about the products, the customer behaviors, and of course, the expert knowledge of the owners of the B2B stores. We don't want to discount the fact that they are product and industry experts. So we take all of this knowledge and we use complex algorithms which are self-learning, and they use artificial intelligence to play out the results according to how they interpret the big data. So you can do everything from guide to advise to inspire to entertain and then to connect in order to create that full customer journey where the customer is completely informed from A to Z. Now, Epoq has been doing this type of thing for, well, actually, I think it's over 16 years now. We've had 550 plus integrations, and we offer these 5 services. We're still working on more services, and everything that we do is based on what our customers tell us. And you can see a selection of our customers down there. So everything, including things like aesthetics and design, are keyed into our customers so that they retain their brand identity while we deliver the technology to personalize their websites in the ways that you've seen throughout this presentation. And you can see here, if I narrow down the customer selection, these are our B2B customers that we're working with day in, day out to get a better experience online for their B2B customers. Now, if you want a little bit more information on the online customer journey and how personalization can affect it, then there's a link at the bottom of the screen there that will take you to our white paper here. If you don't have time to click on that link right now, or you don't have time to copy it or whatever, well, remember that the presentation will be sent out, or you can email me after the webinar, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy or to answer any questions that you might have that you want to take offline. But for now, thank you so much for your attention, and I'm going to throw the control back over to Tatiana to see if we have any questions. If you've got any questions just now, please type them in the questions box. Tatiana, have we had anything come in so far?
Hi, thank you. First of all, that was a lot of information. I hope our attendees have learned a lot from today's presentation. And yes, we do have a couple of questions already. The first one is, how relevant is the shop system for the integration? I see Epoq is a German company. Are there any issues with the integration into non-German shop systems?
Okay. No. For answer to that question, we are very much independent of shop systems. So we work with Shopware, we work with Magento, we work with Spryker, we work with various different shop systems. So there really is no challenge to integrating our software, regardless of what shop system that you're on. Integration is a fairly simple process. It's a line of JavaScript that gets added to each page of your website via what we call an Epoq flow file. Once that's done, we gather some of the knowledge from your website, so the click and purchase behavior, etc., and then we go live. It's really as simple as that. You can put placeholders onto your website, but that's done just by HTML code, and that's just to mark out where you want widgets to go. But again, I come back to the point that the design of these widgets, how you want them to look, how you want them to function, is entirely customizable. So we work with our individual customers to make sure we fit their brand identity when we apply our technology to a site. So there really are no barriers to integration depending on shop system or anything else.
Mhm. The next question is, what are the technical requirements to implement the personalized shopping area and the requirements for the shop itself, like size, etc.?
Okay, well, I mean, one of the key technical requirements is your product data feed and how that is structured in terms of the attributes that you give to your products. Epoq can help consult with you on that to get that into the right shape. It's pretty complex. I'm not going to go into the full detail of that right now because there's a lot that you need to take into consideration. But part of our service is to consult with the customer to make sure that their product data file is fully compliant. And the more attributes that you have, the more kind of complexity that's in that file, then the more we can do with a personalized shopping area and the more personal we can make it for each individual customer. And that's the main requirement. That's really where we draw a lot of data from. In terms of what goes through our algorithms, that's the normal click and buy behavior of each individual customer. And it's important to note as well that that's fully anonymized on our servers, so it is completely compliant with GDPR. So data protection laws are not going to be a problem for you if you decide to implement something like this.
And as for the size of the online shop?
Well, in terms of this, oh yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon, you did mention size. Yeah, I mean, it does work better if you have more products. So if you only have a few hundred products, you're going to see the same recommendations over and over again. So we would recommend personalized shopping areas for larger stores that have sort of 1,000 plus products to get a better experience for their customers so that the experience for their customers doesn't become repetitive. But yeah, I mean, technically you can apply it to any store, but is it worthwhile is more the question here. And if you, like I said, if you only have kind of, 50 to 100 products, you're going to provide a fairly sort of samey experience for the customers, and it's not going to have the maximum impact.
Unless you perhaps, because there's also content, so maybe there's
Well,
shops
yeah.
with not that many products, but perhaps a lot of content. So I guess it depends on the specific shop. And well, like you
Yeah,
said,
it's absolutely down to the specific shop. And again, when we consult with our customers on this, we take all of these factors into account. Because if you are, if you're a store that has 50 products, but you're a massive content factory, or you have a huge amount of interaction with your users and you're getting new user-generated content all the time, then that can make the difference. And it almost becomes a bit more like social media when you look at the stream, because it's it's really content heavy, and then there are products linked to that. But again, it's like I said, every customer is completely different. We appreciate that, and that's why we want to consult with our customers before we talk about implementing any of these strategies to make sure that those are the best strategies for them specifically.
Thank you. And the last question for now, unless someone asks one more thing, but for now, do you have to implement all these steps at once, or can you choose which area to personalize first? And if you could choose, which area would you start with?
So I'd come back to my previous point about us consulting with the online store because everyone's different. To answer the first part of the question, no, you don't have to implement everything at the same time, although it can be beneficial because each of these services that, well, certainly from the Epoq offering, share a knowledge base. So when you put together this knowledge base and when you gather all this intelligence from your customers, and then all of these products can contribute to that and draw from it. So it can be beneficial to put them all on at the same time. However, it's not for everyone. And we need to consult with the customer really quite deeply to find out, okay, where could the website be performing better? Which area of the customer journey gives them the most pain? How can we sort of deploy our solutions to make sure that that's addressed first and foremost? But again, like I said, it's really something that we do in consultation. So in terms of recommendation of which service I would do first, like I said, it really depends on the customer. But with Epoq, our services are modular, so you can do one at a time, you can do a combination of, or you can do all of at the one time. But we will consult with you to decide which one is best.
Well, thank you. Then those are all of our questions for now. Well, if you have any more questions or afterwards you think of a really good question you could have asked today, don't worry, you can contact Gordon. You can see his email address on the screen right now, and just ask away. But for now, we're done, I think. Yeah, no more questions from our participants. Gordon, thank you so much for your presentation, and for answering the questions of our participants as well, of course. And thank you to our participants for being here. I hope I get to greet you again soon in our upcoming next webinar. You can subscribe to our newsletter, or when you get in touch with Gordon, he can also send you the link, or you can see it on our website, so you can always stay up to date with our upcoming webinars and events.
Yep, thanks Tatiana, and thank you to everyone who's joined today and for all your questions and for your attention, and I hopefully will speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day and take care.
Stay safe.
Bye.